The passing of TLC icon Lisa Left Eye Lopez in 2002 has long been shrouded in mystery, but new allegations emerging in the wake of Clive Davis's death are forcing a re-examination of the tragedy. For years, the official account described a fatal car accident in Honduras, a single-vehicle crash on a remote road that claimed the life of the vibrant star while leaving 7 other passengers, including her siblings, unscathed. This anomaly has consistently fueled public skepticism, which has now intensified following claims of a disturbing letter left by Lopez. Reports suggest the note detailed her profound fear that the industry executive was actively seeking to end her life, a revelation that places the circumstances of her fatal trip under an entirely new, sinister light. The conflict between Lopez and the record industry was well documented during her lifetime, particularly regarding a high-stakes financial dispute. Sources close to the group alleged that millions of dollars were withheld from TLC, leading to an aggressive and well-publicized standoff between the artist and her management. Lopez, known for her fearless and unconventional approach to business, reportedly plotted to hold her executive hostage until a new, equitable contract was secured. This boldness, coupled with her reported maneuvers to align with rival industry power players like Suge Knight, created an environment of extreme tension. Many now suggest that these actions marked her as a target, transforming a supposed spiritual retreat in the Honduran jungle into the final chapter of a calculated silencing. As the industry and the public process these resurfaced allegations, the visual record of her final moments has become a haunting centerpiece of the debate. Footage captured from inside the vehicle reveals a scene of joy and normalcy that abruptly descends into chaos, leaving observers to reconcile the inexplicable survival of every other passenger with the tragic loss of the group's most vocal dissident. With the primary authority figure of that era now deceased, suppressed details are finally beginning to emerge, painting a picture of an artist who believed she was fighting for her livelihood against a machine that refused to yield. Whether these new disclosures represent the definitive truth or simply add to the mythology surrounding her death, they underscore a persistent, dark narrative about the cost of challenging the industry's status quo. The circumstances surrounding the 2002 death of Lisa Left Eye Lopez have long been a subject of intense public intrigue, blurring the lines between the metaphysical and the industry's dark underbelly. In the days leading up to the fatal car crash in Honduras, Lopez spoke with haunting clarity about a sense of impending doom, describing an energy she felt was actively stalking her. This premonition was tethered to the tragic death of a local child who shared her surname, a coincidence that led her to believe a malevolent force had mistakenly claimed the boy but remained intent on collecting her. Her own words from the time, reflecting on the proximity of death and the shared space between the living and the departed, now serve as an eerie prologue to the tragedy that followed. While these supernatural claims have captured the public imagination, the pragmatic realities of the music business provide a much more cynical framework for the events. The financial exploitation of TLC, despite their status as the best-selling female group in American history, remains one of the industry's most notorious tales of inequality. Even as their iconic album, Crazy Sexy Cool, generated massive revenue and dominated the Billboard charts, the group members found themselves mired in $3.5 million of debt, forced to file for bankruptcy. The arrangement with Arista Records, then helmed by Clive Davis, allowed for the recouping of exhaustive costs, ranging from manufacturing to the smallest of promotional expenses, effectively ensuring that the artists saw only a pittance of the wealth they created. This systemic drain on the group's finances created a powder keg of resentment, with Lopez emerging as the primary instigator in the fight for economic justice. Having successfully challenged the industry's grip in court, she was reportedly in the process of re-establishing her career as a solo entity, a move that would have severed the financial pipeline flowing toward those who had profited from her success for years. For those who believe her death was far from an accident, this context is crucial. It depicts a high-stakes power struggle where the artist's push for autonomy was met with the cold, calculated suppression of an industry that historically valued its bottom line over the lives of those on its roster. The financial exploitation of TLC remains one of the most glaring examples of systemic inequity in music history. Despite Crazy Sexy Cool generating a staggering $75 million in revenue, the group members were left in a state of financial ruin, forced to navigate debt while their work topped the charts. Records indicate that after the heavy deductions for production, travel, promotion, and management, the artists were left with a pittance, earning just 56 cents per album and taking home less than $50,000 annually. This disparity, which saw the group falling deeper into debt as their success grew, served as the catalyst for a desperate and unprecedented act of defiance against the industry power structures of the 1990s. The subsequent confrontation at Arista Records, as recounted by T-Boz, reads like a cinematic thriller that exposed the volatile tensions between the artists and the labels. Determined to secure their earnings, the members of TLC executed a plan to demand accountability directly from the source, culminating in a high-stakes standoff within the office of Clive Davis. The situation, which involved the group reportedly attempting to hold executives hostage to ensure their demands were met, was abruptly halted when a prominent industry figure, Diddy, alerted management to the unfolding chaos. Witnesses described the scene as an atmosphere of intense friction, one so severe that law enforcement was summoned. The reports suggest the responding officers were shocked to find the source of such significant disruption was three young women fighting for their own livelihoods. This act of rebellion sparked a 2-year legal battle that eventually forced a monumental shift in the group's contractual terms, securing better royalties and increased financial autonomy. However, the legacy of that confrontation continues to be viewed by many as the moment the artists crossed a line from which there was no return. The narrative of Lisa Left Eye Lopez's subsequent death, occurring years later in a distant country under circumstances many find suspicious, is now frequently linked by skeptics back to this very period of open warfare against industry titans. By choosing to challenge the established order and demanding to know exactly where their money had gone, the members of TLC didn't just fight for a paycheck, they ignited a firestorm that would define the rest of their professional and personal lives. The aftermath of the legal settlement between TLC and their label was marked by an increasingly volatile relationship between Lisa Left Eye Lopez and industry executive Clive Davis. Tensions reached a breaking point when the label repeatedly delayed and ultimately canceled the U.S. release of Lopez's debut solo project, Supernova, a move many viewed as a calculated act of professional retaliation. Undeterred, Lopez made a decisive break from Davis's control by signing with Suge Knight's Death Row Records in early 2002. Under the pseudonym Nina, a name she imbued with the meaning new identity non-applicable, she began crafting a new musical path, signaling a total departure from the constraints of her previous contracts and the industry figures who had long sought to stifle her autonomy. The timing of her subsequent death in Honduras, occurring just 3 months after signing this new deal, has become a cornerstone of the theories questioning the official narrative. Skeptics point to the suspicious nature of the accident, noting that despite being in a vehicle with 7 other people, Lopez was the sole fatality. This has led many to characterize the crash as a convenient solution to the problem she posed to the label's interests. As more details regarding the industry's inner workings surface following Davis's own passing, a growing number of voices are calling for a formal reopening of the investigation, suggesting that the truth behind her death was buried beneath a veneer of manufactured coincidences. Public sentiment on the matter remains sharply divided but increasingly cynical toward the official account. Comments circulating online frequently highlight the perceived pattern of retribution against those who dared to challenge the industry's power, drawing parallels between Lopez's situation and the tragic end of other stars like Whitney Houston. While concrete evidence remains elusive, the narrative of a calculated silencing has taken root among those who refuse to accept that a successful, strategic, and determined artist would meet such a bizarre and solitary end. As the conversation continues, the question remains whether the departure of the industry's most powerful figures will finally provide the clarity needed to reconcile these long-standing suspicions with the historical record.